It was so lonely in that large estate. I finally wanted company again, and I was soon to have company, but it wasn't the kind I wanted. My name is Theo Van Caster. I'm 81 years old and have lived on Havens Rock all my life. And this is the story of how a cursed painting changed my life. It was 2 months ago that my Elisa passed away. Elisa was my wife of 61 years. We were both over 80, and of course we knew that neither of us would live forever, but death still hit me so unexpectedly. I mean, we noticed that the left side of her face looked a bit strange and that she could no longer speak properly, so we went to the hospital straight away. We were quickly told she had a small stroke, but she was fine. But before they could take any action, she had a second stroke, and it wasn't small. Although we were in the hospital and the doctors acted quickly, there was nothing more they could do for my wife. My Elisa died the same day. The woman I'd spent almost my entire life with was now gone. I wanted to say so much more to her, experience so much with her, have breakfast with her again, but I wasn't allowed to, of course. The week after her funeral, I went to the doctor and had myself checked from top to bottom, not out of fear that I might have a stroke or a heart attack. No, I was kind of hoping that my blood vessels were no longer the best either, and that I would soon join my dear and face the same fate. But I wasn't so lucky. I was perfectly healthy. My blood vessels, my organs, everything else was in great shape. I was told still had a long, long life ahead of me. A life of loneliness, sadness. I went to my dear Elisa's grave every day because at first I didn't know what else to do. We had otherwise spent every day together for over half a century. It took many weeks before I decided to make the best of it. If I had to live without her, at least I could do my best to honor her. Elisa had loved two things almost as much as me, her rose garden and art. As we were lucky enough to have a large fortune at our disposal, she also had amassed a considerable collection of paintings. I didn't know much about them, but she was always raving about the artists and their works. She particularly liked the old works by local artists, and there were many painters on Havens Rock. And my Elisa had at least one painting by each of them. Now, since I had too much back pain to take care of the roses, I decided to maintain and expand her collection of paintings. I wish I had known what a terrible mistake I was making. The art market in town, that was the perfect opportunity to get hold of something for my loved one's collection. Young artists from Havens Rock presented their work there, hoping for a big breakthrough. When I got there on Saturday morning, I was sure it was a good decision. It was a sunny day, and the place was teeming with people. I felt wonderful. I was no longer alone, and that was a nice feeling I hadn't felt in a while. I also saw some familiar faces. There's Joe Clark, the antiques dealer, Maurice Gray, our mayor, and the lovely Marie Claire from the library. She offered me her condolences and gave me a short talk about God and heaven. I wondered if she used to be a nun because her knowledge of the Bible was second to none, and after talking to her, I needed to concentrate on the pictures, and there were lots of portraits, landscapes, and scenes. However, I didn't know my way around and didn't know what the different styles were called. At the very end of the hall, I found a painting that immediately caught my attention. It depicted an old castle with a family posing on the steps. They were all looking to the side as if someone was there, but no one was standing there. It had undoubtedly been drawn by a very skillful hand, but somehow it gave me the creeps. But maybe that's what a really good painting should do. They should evoke emotions, and fear was one of them. I also found it sad that the painting was hanging all alone at the end of the hall, without anyone noticing it. And I decided to buy it from my Elisa, this painting. The curator of the exhibition was happy about my intention to buy something, but was a bit confused about the origin of the painting. He was sure it was by a local artist, but he didn't know which one. When he tried to find the price of the painting in the records, he was surprised. All he found was a note saying that he should give the painting to whoever was interested in it first. That was it. The painting wouldn't cost me a penny. It was all a bit strange, but maybe that was the way it was with some artists, as I don't know my way around, so I took the painting home with me and donated $5,000 to the initiative for young artists behind the exhibition at the art market. When I got home, I didn't have to think long about where I would hang the painting. It went in the hallway on the second floor of our large house where our bedroom was. There was still a wonderful free space there. I carefully took it out of its careful packaging and hung it up. It looked good in its new place. Elisa would be proud of me. But wait a minute. Was it surely the painting I'd seen in the hall? Actually, I was sure the family was posing on the stairs had been looking to the side, but now they were looking forwards, straight into my eyes. I got goosebumps again. Could it be that something was wrong with this painting? It was more likely that it was my old, tired eyes playing tricks on me. After all, the painting wasn't alive. I couldn't sleep that night because I was brooding again. I pondered about death. Was it as religion told us? And was there heaven and hell? Or was there nothing? Was death the end of a person's existence? I didn't know, and I didn't know what had happened to my dear Elisa. Was she now in heaven? Did she exist in a form of pure energy with angels? If I was honest, I didn't believe it. In my opinion, death ended a person's existence. Her beautiful body was now rotting 6 feet under the earth. Again and again, I imagined worms and maggots slowly eating her away, just torturing myself. I paid no further attention to the footsteps I heard. I assumed that I was also imagining them to torture myself. Maybe they were meant to give me hope that my Elisa still existed as a ghost, and that she was visiting me. Slowly, the noises intensified and pulled me out of my depression. After all, it was possible that the footsteps and the creaking were coming from a burglar, or something worse. With an uneasy feeling in my stomach, I sat up, put on my slippers, and carefully looked out of the bedroom into the hallway. There was no one there, and the noises stopped immediately. To be on the safe side, I took a few steps out and looked into some other rooms, but they were empty. Maybe I just imagined everything. When that bedroom door slammed shut, I almost had the heart attack I was longing for. What was that? There was no wind. All the windows were closed. I slowly crept towards the door. Although I was trembling with fear, I opened the door and couldn't believe what I saw. The room was empty. Not only was there no one there, all the furniture and even my carpet were gone. My bedroom was completely empty. But that wasn't possible. There was no back door. Where would all the stuff have gone in such a short bit of time? My bed, our bedside tables, the wardrobe, and even the photos on the walls were missing. I wanted to go in and look for them when I saw it. A scene that my mind couldn't process. My bed, including my comforter and my pillows, my wardrobe, all the other stuff was hanging from the ceiling. I managed to save myself as everything fell down. I slammed the door and fell on my ass. What had I experienced? That wasn't possible. How had the stuff got to the ceiling? And who was responsible? I made myself a coffee to clear my head, and then I wanted to call the police, but I didn't. What was I supposed to tell them? That someone had redecorated my bedroom? I plucked up all my courage and went back to the bedroom to put everything back where it belonged, but when I opened the door, everything was back in its place as if nothing had happened. To be on the safe side, I slept in the living room that night. The next morning I went to see what my bedroom looked like, but I stopped on the way there because something wasn't right. I took my time and looked at the painting I had bought yesterday. The family on the stairs. They were grinning at me. I couldn't remember them laughing. Why were they suddenly laughing? Either my eyes or my mind was slowly giving up the ghost. It got worse over the next few days. Objects just fell over at night. I kept hearing footsteps and voices. The only way out seemed to be prayer, but I felt like a hypocrite. I didn't usually believe in Him, and now that I was scared and needed God, I turned to Him. I didn't feel good. A few days later, I visited Elisa at the cemetery and told her about what had happened. I also told myself how lonely I was and how much I wanted company. But not that kind of company. Then something occurred to me as if she wanted to draw my attention to it. The house was big, and I had enough money. Why didn't I just get myself some company? If I wasn't alone in the house, the atmosphere would certainly be less creepy. I put an ad in the Havens Rock Times looking for a housekeeper. There was a good salary as well as board and lodging. Shortly afterwards, I received a few applications at home. I was particularly impressed by one young man. He was not only a trained cook, but had also worked as a gardener on the mainland for 4 years. So he could certainly take care of Elisa's rose garden. Perfect. The interview with him went extremely well, and he accepted the job. The man had not only talent in the kitchen, but was also very hard-working. On his very first day, he pruned the shrubs in the garden, cooked us an excellent stew, and dusted all the paintings in the house. He was a simple guy and didn't know much about art, but he didn't have to. He was particularly taken with the painting I had bought at the art market. When I told him how I bought it, he stared at it for a few seconds without answering me, almost as if he was hypnotized. Then he shook himself and looked kind of worried. Nevertheless, he put on a smile and carried on working. What a stroke of luck. I really felt better with him in the house and was able to fall asleep wonderfully late in the evening. I hadn't been able to do that since Elisa died. Maybe it was because my stomach was full. The stew was really good. I was able to fall asleep well, but not sleep through the night. I woke up because I heard the usual noises again. Footsteps, creeping, and now a soft whisper. So nothing had changed. Carefully and slowly, I went to the toilet. My plan was to wake Kramer, that was my new housekeeper's name, with the flush so that he could hear the strange noises too. I didn't want to be alone anymore. So I flushed the toilet and washed my hands for a long time as I should have done. When I stepped back into the hallways afterwards, I was surprised. Kramer was awake and standing in the hallway. To be more precise, he was standing in the hallway in front of the strange painting. I spoke to him, but he didn't react. He just stood there and stared directly into the painting's soul. Somehow that scared the shit out of me, and I left him alone. Maybe he was a sleepwalker. I'd heard it was better not to wake them. The next day, I went down to the dining room relatively late to have breakfast. The only bad thing was there was no breakfast. Kramer was probably still in bed. Well, maybe he was overtired from sleepwalking. So I made my own breakfast, but got a little restless when it was already 11 o'clock in the morning. I went up to the second floor and knocked on his bedroom door, but no one answered. As I was beginning to worry about him, I went in. His bed was made and no one was in it. His suitcase was still next to the wardrobe and hadn't been emptied. Kramer was nowhere to be seen. He wasn't in the bathroom, anywhere else in the house or in the garden. It was as if he had been swallowed up by the ground, or something else. The next day I reported his disappearance to the police. 2 officers came by and asked me if anything had been stolen. Apart from my housekeeper and gardener, nothing was missing, I said. They took his things to the station and told me not to get my hopes up. Sometimes people just run away. Small islands can be very oppressive. I knew Havens Rock was a mysterious little island, but I was suddenly surprised and shocked why he would suddenly disappear from here, and without all his belongings. I was walking down the hall towards my bedroom when something caught my eye again. Something was wrong with the painting. Something was different. The people in the picture were still grinning and looking ahead, but there was something else, something new. There was another person in the painting that I had never noticed before. It was a man in dungarees. He was standing in front of the steps, cutting the bushes with a hedge trimmer. You could see the sheer terror and horror in his eyes. How had it suddenly got there? Had Kramer painted himself into the painting that had fascinated him so much? I kept walking and just wanted to get away from the painting. What if Kramer had swallowed it? Maybe you thought you could add it to your collection, but actually the painting was the thing that collected. The painting collected souls. In the nights that followed, the hauntings of my house got worse. The noises got louder, and more things flew around. I didn't want this anymore. I wanted these ghosts to disappear, but I had an idea. Actually, I now had solid proof that there were ghosts, and on closer inspection, that was a good thing. Because if these ghosts existed, perhaps my Elisa also existed as a ghost. I made a decision. I would try to communicate with the painting. It was obviously the source of the spirits. Perhaps it could also bring me my Elisa. It was the middle of the night, but I got up and went to the painting in the hallway. If you can hear me, I have a suggestion for you. You know that I have a fervent wish. Please fulfill it for me. Then I'll do everything you ask. I'll help you, I promise. I would love to see my Elisa again, I said. And I immediately felt silly because, of course, the painting did nothing. None of the figures on it moved or did anything else. What a crazy old fool I am. I was just about to go back to bed when I heard a sinister voice in my head. I'll fulfill your most ardent wish and get what I want in return. Good. My master will be pleased. We have a deal, said the dark creature. I looked around and wondered whether Elisa would just appear in front of me or whether I would just hear her voice. Then I suddenly noticed a sharp pain in my chest and back. Something was wrong with me. I slumped down and clutched my heart. No, it couldn't be. I was having a heart attack. But the doctor said, "Oh no, my most fervent wish, no!" Slowly my eyes went black. The last thing I saw was the painting. The people on the stairs were now looking to the side again, just like at the beginning. And then I saw what they were looking at. Next to the stairs, on the painting, was an old man clutching his chest and crying because he had made a huge mistake. Now I belong to them. I can only warn you. Something is waking up on Havens Rock. And it's not a good thing. Hey, horror fans, want to learn more about the strange island, Havens Rock? Then click here on the next video and subscribe.